Imagine if your sales and marketing team actually work together, like actively going after deals together. I mean, like really evaluating some of the calls and some of the marketing assets and really tailoring towards your prospect, that focus list you're going after. Imagine what kind of results would happen. That's kind of what we're getting at. The challenge is, most of you are going to say it's hard to do or it's impossible, and you're going to go back to doing the same thing that you've always done and get the same results you've always gotten. But we want to disrupt that. And today we're going to tell you exactly what we think can work. My guest today, listen, he's going to light you up. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode today, I have the one and only Garrett Mehrguth. Now, Garrett's not just your old typical sales and marketing guy. Garrett actually he's done both of these things. And not only does he run his own company for the past 10 years, being the founder of Directive, he's also worked with other organizations where he invests in, and he has multiple businesses. He spends a ton in ad and does a lot with marketing and does a tremendous amount of selling. His philosophies ties very closely with some of the things that we believe in when it comes to that you as a founder is probably the best salesperson the company has. But oftentimes, the way that the individual sellers sell is not necessarily lined up with the way the founder is selling. How can we make that better? And usually what we found is that when you can get sales and marketing on the same page, when they can go after accounts together, when they can have a plan, magic starts to happen. And that's exactly what Garrett's going to tell you today, and how your numbers can just get out of the roof, out to skyrocket. Before we dive into the episode, though, I want to tell you something. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the podcast. We'll notify you every time we drop a new episode. Also want to let you know, if this is your first time listening to the show designed to cover two things. One, either it's going to help you build pipe or it's going to help you accelerate deals throughout the pipe. Now, the stuff we're going over today can definitely help you to be able to build pipe as you understand more what deals, where leads are coming from, how the leads function, and how marketing can work together with you, and how you can work some magic. Now, Garrett has tons more information. I highly encourage you to go connect with him on LinkedIn, and you can follow him there and see some of the great things that he's posting. As we dive in, you'll get an understanding to see why he's so passionate about sales and marketing working together and the results that he's seen, and give you some tactical things you can take advantage of. Let's check it out. Garrett, welcome to the show, man.
Glad to be here, Donald. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Sales marketing, I feel like sometimes we hear about this and we think that, salespeople think marketing sucks because they don't give us good leads. And then marketing thinks salespeople sucks because we give them great leads and they're not even doing stuff with it.
Yep, that's about it right there. Yeah.
I know you have a passion for both with your years of experience. I bragged about you a little bit there in the teaser. And today I want to dive into just, go straight into it. I bragged about you a little bit already, and we got some stuff about you there. But let's just talk about this. First off, why are you so passionate about sales and marketing? Like, you've built some pretty amazing stuff, done some pretty, awesome stuff in the world and your company. But why? What drives you when it comes to this topic?
Yeah, growth is a team sport. I think there's a third and fourth part even that we're not even talking about today, which is product and customer service. But, growing an organization is a team sport. And I've spent, $1 to $3 million a year on my own marketing for probably the last 6 years. Probably $5 million a year if you count my sales org as well. And so what I found is, both groups really need to be on the same page. And I think so many people isolate them. And a CEO and supermajority shareholder in my situation, I kind of preside over growth. And I can see the power of when both are working together. And what I find is both parties do way too little. And I don't think the individual contributors in either groups realize how great they could become in their own careers if they cared a little bit more about the other. And what I mean by that is if an AE takes the time, SDR even takes the time, head of sales takes the time, director of sales, VP of sales, CRO takes the time to work with marketing. Say, hey, I really enjoy this lead. Hey, here's why I enjoy it. Here's the titles that we're resonating most with. Hey, I noticed that our best leads are coming from this channel. How are we investing our capital there? What can I do to support you? And then on the other side, marketing, taking the time at the individual contributor level. Once again, hey, Maria, John, Tim, I sent you this lead last week. How'd the conversation go? What did you learn from it? What do you wish resources you had from me to better support your conversation? How can we maybe progress things through the funnel? I think both groups are so content and apathetic that they're their own worst enemies.
Interesting. You bring that piece in there. The content side. I've seen that. There's a company I worked with, and marketing had done things for years this way, and they just didn't want to think outside the box to try anything else. But then sales was also kind of stuck in their zone. You had some people that were been there for a while and were tenured and said, this has never worked before, so we're only going to do this stuff. And I get, sometimes you understand the lay of the land. You don't want to reinvent the wheel, but still yet times change and processes change.
Starts with the
but
CEO,
I think,
right?
yes. And I think that was one of the things that we noticed. The CEO was, again, hands off with it. Like, you guys go figure it out. And it was silo. But it didn't work so well. But let's talk about this. You guys we know that this is important to fix that problem. We need to get the teams communicating. We need to get the teams on the same page. Everybody talks about marketing and sales being aligned. How do I go about knowing this? Knowing how to, if I'm a sales leader listening to this, I'm hearing you talk. I'm like, sounds like he knows what he's talking about. But how do I go about doing this? Break down the silos and to actually get these two teams working together. One component you mentioned in our previous call was just even knowing where leads are coming from is a base level. Is that the foundation where we could start off from, or somewhere else we should start off from?
I think where we start off from is like showing up on the marketing meetings. If I was like an AE, I would just be like, when's the weekly meeting? Can I attend?
But Garrett, I don't have time. I need to be hitting quota though. I'm going to push back. I need to be hitting quota. I don't have time for this.
Yeah, most of your stuff ain't working anyway, man. Come on, let's be honest. You're wasting your time most of the day calling nobody picking up. Most of your own cold stuff doesn't work. You got less than 3% response rates, even if you're good. Let's not pretend sales guys are over here in their free time making the company all this money. I wish that was the case. Most sales organizations I've seen these days are deeply dependent on inbound without actually taking the time to understand it. And that's where this comes in.
Every rep I've ever for the folks in the back, because I think that was deep right there.
Every rep I've ever met who's doing well right now is deeply dependent on inbound and has solution selling capabilities. In other words, they really understand their products, they understand their customers, and they're able to articulate value. Mm-hmm. The marketing needs to also be able to articulate the value. Many organizations have disparity between the message that the AE articulates on the sales call and the value of why someone signs versus what is articulated in the ads. So if I was an account executive, if I was a VP of sales, and I had a script that was working, I had a message and a value prop that was resonating, I would want to look at the ads, I would want to look at the marketing and say, here's what I'm articulating and communicating on my sales moments that is resulting in closed won business and bookings. I'm not maybe seeing that demonstrated in the creative and the copy and the ads and in the marketing and in the content and in the emails. How can I bridge that gap? And I think first step is attending. So I think many people are just apathetic, right? They're a sales rep who's operating with their hand out saying, hey, marketing, can you please give me something? But I think if they showed up and attended and started with their presence, stayed quiet. You don't need to be critical. You don't need to create advice right off the bat, but stay quiet, stay humble, learn and try to be empathetic to why marketing is doing something that you think is stupid, because they probably are. And then eventually, as you build trust and confidence, I think you can start to articulate ideas and opportunities in how things are working. And you can provide, recordings of your Gong calls. You can send screenshots of email messages. And you can start to highlight to the marketing group what the prospects are truly loving about the product or the service and what's compelling them to sign. And ask yourself, how can we bring that same information into the marketing?
Yeah. What I love about that, Garrett, is like you mentioned it at the very beginning. This is a team sport thing, right? And if I could bring to you reaction from a marketing piece, like from the last webinar, let's say you guys ran a marketing webinar, we worked on it together. Now I'm talking to people on LinkedIn or engaging with some of the prospects that went to it. And this is what they're saying. That's gold that can make us make the next one better. But I can tell you, companies I work in, that part never happened. Marketing's just like, I did my job, check. I did a webinar. And then sales is like, well, I got leads from it. And, I'm trying to follow up with it, but not kind of communicating. But I love that aspect. Go to the meetings. I bring something to you. and then obviously you can give something to me. We could work something better for the long run.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you get promoted too. I think
Yeah.
the first person who cares enough to use their voice is two things: you either get fired or you get promoted. And if you're going to get fired, that's a good thing because that organization is going to die anyway. So you got to think of yourself as powerful and capable, and not be worried about job security. Because I'll tell you right now, there's a billion people who hire anyone that wants to use their voice and create change. And if you're in an organization that doesn't want to hear it, two things can be true. One is it's the wrong organization, and two is you're bad at using your voice. So you still got to look in the mirror and ask yourself, how do I articulate what I'm trying to do to help the organization with more tact, right?
Yeah.
Have you built the relationship? It's just like selling somebody. You can't challenge them until you've built enough rapport. And so, did you play by the rules of the game of professionalism or not? And then if you did play by the rules, you built the relationships, you had good feedback, and the organization won't change, then you need to change. If not, stop complaining,
Yeah. Love it. There's the difference between paid social and paid search. I think that world has been evolving recently with AI and so forth. I would love to, I as a seller, I know that that's not one area that I spend time in. Why should I be cognizant of and know about this as a seller? What's the benefit to me?
Yeah, no, this is hugely important for sellers, and I think they skip this. So marketing in its simplest form is no different than anything else, which it has inbound intent and then kind of outbound intent. So same thing as seller. So let's think about it like this. You're a seller and you're doing LinkedIn sales nav maybe, and you're hitting people up in the DMs. You're connecting with people that your company's never worked with and you don't have a relationship with. No warm intro, just cold outbound. Well, that intro call is going to be very different than if you got a referral from your network into somebody, or if it's maybe a return point of contact who hired you at one company and moved to another. Well, marketing's the same way. So if someone's on paid search, they're in market. So let's say you sell an ERP software. So someone has Googled ERP software, clicked on your ad, checked out your landing page, and would like a demo. That is an inbound request from paid search. Okay. That means this person's in market. Okay. Paid social is very much like cold outbound. What paid social is someone comes in, they saw your LinkedIn ad, they liked the vibe of it, and they want to explore your service or product. What this is now is someone who needs to be sold on the value of what you offer instead of handheld through a process that they've already sold themselves on, which is inbound and search. And so search has lower ACVs, but higher win rates. And so reps have a tendency to really like these things. But what they're not realizing is they could 2X their quota and be, win President's Club and be seller of the year if they understood how to do more value selling and solution selling off of outbound or paid social or things that are maybe more high in the funnel and exploratory. Yeah. Reps have this they don't have their wallet out right now. Why should I care? Energy that makes them deeply immature in their career. And if they could slow down a bit and say, okay, what do you want to learn about us? And learn how to build relationships, learn how to articulate value, learn how to understand who you've serviced in the past and have case studies and information, maybe even fly out and attend in person, God forbid. You'll learn that you could start to close very large engagements because you out-cared the competition, and you should only be selling great products and services you believe in the first place. So if that's the case, you got to try to win those more enterprise deals, and that's how it works.
I'm putting a note down about that, about the out-caring the competition. And I did that before where we had a bunch of, it was one of the organizations I worked with, a bunch of paid social leads that came in. And yes, some of them were ready to say, all right, I'm open to have the conversation, but the vast majority of them, and I think that was a difference that we saw, because some of the inbound, again, you did the research, you prepped already, you came ready for the search, you came ready to
you're in
have
market.
That yeah, you're in market. But some of these we looked at everyone as if they were in market. And that was a huge difference, because then in our minds, we're saying it's no different than having a cold outreach. But the thing is, there are more, you can still work with them better to still get to that end result. And
they should be the right person at the right account. They just might not be in market. So you have to have a relational process instead of a transactional process. And these reps right now just want to transact
Yeah.
And they're skipping this point of relationship that I think the OGs of sales have mastered. And now the young bucks come in and they're like, oh, wait, like they're not in market right now, bad lead. And that's a very short-sighted way of working at it.
No.
And now if you're changing careers every 2 years as a rep, then yeah, maybe that's how you see it. But if you're trying to develop somewhere and grow, you should be treating every conversation as a part of your relational kind of Rolodex. And as you go from one organization to another, if you're wise in your career, every one of these moments creates a future bookings.
It sounds like you are passionate about that topic there, man. I think we need to bring you back another day because you hit on I think we hit a chord when you said they were like, some of these sellers, they are skipping every 2 years.
Okay, because they're more important. Like a lot of these people don't even bet on themselves anymore, man. They're just going from one high base salary to the next, irrelevant of OTE, irrelevant of variable bookings, irrelevant of commission. They just go every 1 year and a half. Oh, you're going to give me 15% more, and I can work just as averagely. Sure, and I think that's
chasing a base.
That's hell right now in the sales community, and it's frankly shining a poor light upon sales where these OTE breakups are getting higher and higher on base and people are jumping from one base to the next instead of truly loving a product or a service they believe in. And that's why I think they have a hard time selling to people who might not be in market is there's no passion or belief in their words. Yes. And so they're struggling to create a moment, right? When you get the right person from the right account, that's a forever moment for you. That's someone with their next job might have budget. That's someone in their next role might bring you on. That's someone that could be eventually resold to. Like my biggest thing is like reps should always get off a call and say, when's their contract coming up? What are they looking for in a vendor? And then put that in your CRM. If you stay somewhere for 2 years and you do calls every day, even with people that are not in market, you will know then on your own sense of when timing is right because you've gone off every call without forgetting to ask when the contract's up. Yes. Remember, almost every player as a vendor in almost every organization who wins a contract, their best clients are ones who already were with somebody else. It's never their first time. So you don't want to be someone's first solution. You want to be the next solution. So if you get that contract information and you start treating these moments as valuable and less transactional, you can become truly amazing by year 2 and never miss your goals.
I love it. I love it. Garrett, I want you to you told me about we talked about accounts, utilizing the same account list, sales and marketing. Yeah. And everyone understands about, have heard about the account-based selling idea or just a strategy. Can you go deeper and talk to me about this, why this is so important to you?
Yeah. So essentially I built my whole business this way, leading this initiative. About 6 years ago, we had 10,000 accounts we wanted to break into. To get those 10,000 accounts, we did stuff you can do now with ChatGPT very easily. So what we try to do is we try to take the private information that makes someone truly great to hit our ACV, to hit our kind of close rate, our contract values. That really is like a true mid-market enterprise engagement for us, right? For us at Directive, it's ad spend. So I'm looking for someone who's spending over $50,000 a month. Now, if you're familiar with advertising, that is not publicly available information. That's confidential to the organization you're trying to sell into. Now, SEMrush has some ad APIs. SpyFu has some ad APIs. ZoomInfo's got a bunch of data. So what we do is we build what's called a regression analysis, and we do this for all our customers, clients like Gong, Wiz, Dropbox, AWS, you name it. And we're essentially trying to look at, okay, what makes someone a great fit for them? That's private information that if we ran a regression analysis, we could have a statistical correlation to publicly available information. So we know that someone who is spending over 50K has to have maybe this many marketers on their team, this technology, this ad spend at SEMrush, maybe this many ad counts. And from that, we can essentially decipher or with an AI reasoning model, determine that. And then we can find every other company that has those character traits so that we know these are the organizations in B2B spending over 50K a month on ads, in my case. We do that for every customer. Now, this is critical because what happens right now is there's some VP of sales right now listening. And when I say some, I'd argue almost 95% of them. And they've got a list that's 3 to 4 years old that no one's ever manually verified, that marketing isn't also using, that isn't uploaded into Salesforce so they can report on market share. And it's a bunch of people hustling like ducks underwater going in circles with one leg. And the truth is even in my own team, in my own groups, if you have 1,000 accounts, you say, how do they look? They look at 50 of them. You need to go look at all 1,000. The whole measure, 100 times cut once.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem right now in outbound activity and sales is people buying a crappy list, treating it like it's gold and wonder why they get crappy results.
Yeah.
And what we really got to do is we got to take the time to manually verify. If you're a sales org with 15 people, you got 10,000 accounts, don't do anything for 2 weeks. Just take inbound requests, no outbound, and go validate every one of those accounts is legit.
Interesting.
Take the time to do the work. Do the work, do the work, do the work, do the work. If not, you're going to go bust your butt for a year, wonder why outbound's not working, and you'll keep testing your messages and your subject lines. Yet you're selling essentially it's like a bakery that keeps redoing all their recipes, and all they're selling to is gluten-free people. And they're like, why doesn't anyone want our recipes? It's like, well, dude, they could never order from your bakery. And so it's an epidemic right now in outbound.
Yeah. And then that's when they go even deeper and just increase the speed, right? I'm just going to do, now I didn't need to do 2,000 cold emails per day. And it's like,
I'm going to buy instantly. I'm going to use Clay with some agents and I'm going to send 2 million emails this month. But the problem is you're testing, once again, the efficacy of a campaign against an audience that could never buy or that you're unaware of. And I think mastering your account list is the most fundamental, important part of sales and marketing today.
Love it. And I feel like that piece comes back to this. It works for certain parts, right? I mean, I guess maybe even not. But if you're brand new to an industry, of course you're going to test. But at this point where you have such a good tenure in the industry, like it makes 100%. And all the sales reps are listening to this, working for a company that, I mean, they have more than one account. They have accounts that they can go and test stuff like that.
Yeah, you have clients, and then you don't need to go be everything to everyone. I mean, the biggest mistake companies today make is they try to go from being a product to a platform. Like they had a product people wanted, they raised capital, they brought on private equity, they brought on VC, and now they've diluted their value prop by being a little bit of something to everyone instead of something for someone. Yeah. And as a rep, don't fall victim to that. Go find who are you something to someone for and just sell that. You don't got to go be everything to everybody because then your response rates go down. Even if you get someone to respond, your value prop and examples in their industry are poor at best. So it's like going deep. Like what I like to tell people is the depth of your execution is more important than the breadth of your activity. And you just got to go do the work.
I love it. The last piece I want to touch base on, you hit on this a little bit early on around the notion of product. Talk to me about why sales can't opt out of product knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, the top performing rep in every company is usually the founder, right? I mean, why are they successful? Because their title? Stop lying to yourself. They're not good because of their title. They're good because they're obsessed with the industry. They're obsessed with the value prop. They're obsessed with the customers. They're obsessed with the product, and they care. They're involved. It's not their title. But CEOs can be just as bad as anyone else that's selling if they don't care. Yeah. And so if you want to be great at anything, you should ask yourself, how can I be the best solutions architect, the solution engineer in the company? You should know more about the product than anyone. You should be able to solve any CS problem. You should be able to fix any bug. You should be able to do an install yourself. The second you become the most obsessed person in the company with the product is the second you're going to get promoted. It's the second you're going to hit quota. It's when you're going to win. It's when people start singing your praises internally in the organization. It's a part of being a seller. And in my opinion, you're doing a disservice to your craft, to your own potential, and to your organization if you're not obsessed with the product. There is no one, I don't care how good you are at selling, if you don't truly love the product, understand the product, memorize the product, be able to implement the product, use the product, understand it, etc., you're not going to be as good as you could be. It's like when you walk into a dealership and you ask a car guy about one of the cars and they're like, is that the V8 or the V6? Yeah, I think that one's the man. You're not even trying. Come on. You're not even trying. So to me, if you want to be great at this game, you need to know every industry, every category. When people come up to me, they're like, Garrett, how do you know so much about ERP or healthcare? This is like, well, every call I prep for 20, 30 minutes. I'd go through all their public filings. I can do it now with ChatGPT, by the way, exceptionally quickly. Give me a breakdown of their latest, maybe quarterly earnings report. Give me an understanding of their org chart. I'm going to go figure out who I know in their network. I'm going to see what clients we've ever worked with in that space. I'm going to be reaching out to my delivery team to see if I got any good quotes or excerpts. I'm going to start building maybe 3 referrals so I can proactively ask them if they'd like me to introduce someone to someone, because that's even more powerful than waiting for them to ask for a referral. All these little moments I'm going to do to be great. And right now, greatness is so close for anyone. They just have to do a little bit of work. I'm talking 15, 20, 30 minutes a day, and you can be the best in your craft and the best in your category.
I love this, man. Garrett, I could talk to you for days. Love your energy. Love the insights. There's so much that we took out of this episode today that's going to, I know they're actionable things that teams and leaders can leave with from this call. If folks are listening and want to get in touch with you, the best way to connect with you, what's the way should we do that?
Yeah, you can hit me up on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm obsessed with sales and marketing and just trying to get better myself. We didn't get a ton into all the tactics, but I mean, I think the big takeaways is know where your leads come from. Are they in market or are they exploratory? Get when the contract's coming up before you get off the call, because if you last somewhere for a while, it's going to help. Have a way better list. Like, truly love your list. Be obsessed with your list. Stop sending emails and hustling so hard. Slow yourself down a bit. And then know the product better than anyone. Know the product better than anyone. And I mean, if you do those things right there, you won't miss your number.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. I couldn't agree. Kindred spirit. Garrett, thank you for taking the time to come on the show today, man.
Of course.
I told you the stuff was going to be good. Listen, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and connect with Garrett. Go ahead and tell him that you heard him here on the Sales Evangelist podcast. And I know he'll be super stoked about that. Listen, the principles here can apply. You can start doing this right now. You can go to that marketing meeting. And as Garrett was talking about, you can say that we can't do this because I have so many other things to do. But I beg to differ. Like, this is the time, man. No, like, a lot of your competitors are not doing this stuff. Can you make yourself differentiate, like stand out and differentiate yourself, and to get deals progress faster? Of course you can. I absolutely promise you, you can see that, and we can help you to make that magic happen. Listen, I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. I want you to raise your level of thinking, but most importantly, I want you to close more deals. I want you to go out and do big things. Thanks so much for watching. See you on the next one.